Hi, Neal here, Artistic Director and Conductor of your Dayton Philharmonic with Piano Bench Chat number 37. And that was, with a few extra wrong notes in there, the beginning of the Act 2 Pas de Deux from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker. And why am I thinking about Nutcracker in mid-November? Well, if you've watched a couple of weeks, you know I'm thinking about Nutcracker because that's the big project I'm in the middle of, working on the big 25 years of Nutcracker stream for Dayton Ballet, which will premiere in just a couple of weeks. So again, got to get upstairs to the computer and keep working on it. But I'm thinking about that beautiful Pas de Deux melody, and it's always a magical time in every year for me when we get to Nutcracker, which means that this year is going to be a little different from others because there is no live Nutcracker, of course, and that's going to be sad. But immersing myself in the Nutcracker music and all the pictures from all these years of Dayton Ballet productions is a nice little consolation for me. But the greatest consolation for me as I'm working on it is hearing the musicians of the Dayton Philharmonic just playing their hearts out and playing just that gorgeous music. And it's always a magical moment when we get to the Pas de Deux, not only because it's such a beautiful dance and it's incredible what the dancers of Dayton Ballet do with it each year, but the way the music and the dance fit together is just so incredible. And it always stuns me that that music, the theme that the whole Pas de Deux is based on, is, musically speaking, absolutely nothing. It's just a scale. I mean, the most ordinary thing there is in music, yet Tchaikovsky turns it into this romantic, dreamy, just, it's so incredible. So that's one thing that always amazes me and just always lowers my blood pressure, even though I have to concentrate when we get to that music. But there are other things that pop into my head, just briefly, because I have to concentrate on the orchestra and the dancers. But the things that I always think about fleetingly when we get to the Act 2 Pas de Deux. The first is the very beginning, the harp. I'm not going to play all the arpeggios, but what the chords are that the harp plays. Well, right there, those four chords, that, folks, is rock and roll. When people talk about four-chord rock and roll, those are the four chords that they're talking about. In musical notation, it's 1, 6, 4, 5, 1. I mean, that's Louie Louie, it's Hang On Sloopy, it's Stand By Me, it's everything in rock and roll. And there it is in 1891 in Tchaikovsky. Of course, it doesn't sound like rock and roll, but it's the same music. So that's one thing that pops into my mind. The second is the scale. But the third is something completely different. and a little hard to play, and my Haydn Symphony number 9 is going flying everywhere. But here's the other thing that always pops into my mind when we get to that Pas de Deux melody, and it is this. Which is the beginning of the last movement of Tchaikovsky's Pathetique Symphony. Now, what you need to know is that there are two great masterpieces that Tchaikovsky wrote in the final year of his life. First was the Nutcracker ballet. Second was the Pathetique Symphony, the very last piece that he wrote. And in the final movement of the Pathetique Symphony, we hear this melody. Full of passion, full of sorrow, full of pathos, from the name of the symphony. And there was one year, a couple of years ago, we're playing the Pas de Deux, and we're hearing, and it dawned on me that it's the same scale. Except in Nutcracker, it's happy and everything is fine and the world is beautiful. And in the Pathetique, the scale isn't happy and it's sad and it's like it's the end of the world. And that always struck me as just such a beautiful and emotional thing. And it's one of those, instantaneous thoughts that just flits through your head. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, Paul and Natalie are up on stage and you got to accompany them and the cellos have the beautiful melody. And there are all these other things to think about when you're in the pit conducting the ballet. But whenever I think of the Pas de Deux now, I think of these two pieces being together. The happy Pas de Deux and the just intensely sorrowful finale of the Pathetique, the last piece that Tchaikovsky ever finished. Now, there are other incredible things about the Pathetique Symphony, like the crazy way the melody is actually put together, and maybe that can be the subject for Piano Bench Chat number 38 next week. In fact, it might be interesting for you, but I'm not going to do it now because, as I said, I got to get back up to the computer to work on the stream again. But I hope that as this is Thanksgiving week, you will have the beauty of the Pas de Deux and the happiness and the joy of the Pas de Deux, and not so much of the Pathetique. We've had plenty of that this year. It's time for the simple joys of Thanksgiving and health and happiness. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay sane, stay with us. We've got great dance and music and singing coming to you over the holiday season at our holiday streams. Just go to DaytonPerformingArts.org/streams and you'll find all the information. Take care and see you next week.